Hello guys, welcome back to TGY Productions. Today I am starting to upgrade the DCC in this Atlas Master. I think this is a Jeep 40. Nope, that's Jeep 38. For this project I'm going to be using a Decoder Buddy Mini, which has the 2K 2 ohm resistors on board already. The reason I'm picking the Mini for this project is there are no ditch lights on this locomotive or a beacon or anything else, so I don't have a need for the extra function pads that the regular Decoder Buddy or the version 5 Decoder Buddy has. All these A0 through what, up to A12 it looks like. I don't need that. I need one front headlight and one back headlight. And if you look, we have those on the Decoder Buddy Mini. So let's go ahead and open this up. If you've never used a Decoder Buddy before, these are by Next Trains. They're very, very handy. And once you remove this packaging and open it up, there's some extra installation considerations, wiring considerations, remind you about the wires for LEDs, the way those are supposed to go, as well as the diagrams on, well, for the version 5, the light board, connector board has its information on the back side of it as well. It's very handy. Hang on to these. It's very nice. Decoder Buddies are great. They feature 21 pins, as well as, it's hard to see, but speaker connections here on the board. A1, A2 and a common, which would be for your ditch lights if you had them. Motor leads, track power on both ends, so you can have the front and the rear trucks, plus front headlights, rear headlights. This is the Decoder Buddy Mini. So, I've done all my maintenance on this motor already. I left the coupler pockets out, so we'll just pop the shell off and get started. Now, I already took the original light board out of this, and this is an Atlas Master locomotive, which featured a DC to DCC jumper board. It had a 6-pin 3x2 pin board, and you had to move this little plug that was 2x2 from one side to the other to get a DCC, but I want the ability to later add sound into this, so that's where this little guy is going to come in handy. This guy has, like I said, speaker connections on the board already, and because it's going to be a quick plug 21 when I get a sound decoder, which will more than likely be a Loc Sound version 5, it'll be easy to swap it with this Loc Pilot, which is what I'm going to put in there for now, I think. I also have a Digitrax DH126MT, which I might use since I, again, don't have any auxiliary outputs on this whatsoever, so I might, I don't know. I like the programming of the Loc Pilot since I have a Loc programmer, but neither here nor there. So, first thing that I need to do is I'm going to tin the pads. I started this project a long time ago, which is why the wires are terribly frayed, but also already soldered. And like I said, I took these off of, I took the existing board out, which again, just a hot soldering iron to pull those off, and easy peasy. To do a DC to DCC conversion, what you need are your track pickups and your motor leads, and then just figuring out how you're going to do your lights is the rest of it. If you're doing an Athearn blue box locomotive, there are metal connector on the top and the bottom, so you actually have to pull the motor out and put a piece of Kapton tape across the underside to keep the lower connector from coming into contact with the frame, which will, I believe, cause a DCC short. So isolating that is crucial. This one, since it was DCC ready already, is already configured the right way. Get my solder out here. And simply the ones I need, I'm going to do all the ones I need, but track power first. So everything on this board is pre-tinned. Easy peasy. Let me just test fit this here. This doesn't quite fit between these two. These clips were where the old light board sat. I think I need to replace this wire for sure. This one just feels like it's going to just break off of there. It pays to hang on to these old wire harnesses from your Digitrax decoders, because that is black wire. And now I'm going to tin this wire. So that's done. Now I'm going to rig up a platform for this, since it won't fit in between these two clips, and I don't feel like trying to figure out how to remove one of those. If I had a little tiny hand, so I could do that, but I don't. So the name of the game is styrene and super glue. So what we're going to do is, just so I can have an idea of the size I need, I'm going to stick this to there, like so. And I know this is too wide, because this is about the width of the motor, but see, that length is perfect. So we'll glue that on. Okay. So this, as I said, needs to be just a little bit skinnier. I don't want it to be any wider than the circuit board, just because sometimes the shell of the motor is as wide, just about as this light board is anyway, so I don't need that much more space. Stay up here. Okay, so now for some more projects. Now this is super difficult. All I'm going to do is, you can see it, these two old clips that held the light board, the old light board, we are going to throw down some super glue on both of those, and then press this styrene into place. I want to make sure it's centered on the motor, because again, I don't want the shell to interfere at all. It looks good. I'll let that dry, and we'll have a place to mount our Decoder Buddy. Pretty easy hack. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing these projects is check prior to, if you can, prior to installation, about room inside of the shell. Because the thing that's different is you have these pins, these 21 pins that stand up. So having the clearance inside the shell for this to fit is very crucial. This motor I know won't be an issue, as the light board is shorter than the height of the weights. So I know there's going to be no conflict in installing this in that position. Some motors, however, though, have, like for example, these where these fans are, or I know my AC 4400 has the exhaust manifold, and that piece sticks down underneath the shell here, creating an internal height restriction. So you want to make sure that you test those before you really secure them into place. Use some temporary tape or something you can remove before, oh goodness, before you mount it in there permanently, in case you have to adjust it or do anything crazy. So we'll let this dry and then continue here in just a moment. We're going to begin with securing this down. So I'm going to use my double-sided tape once again. I'm going to cut a larger piece and a fresh piece so that I hopefully will not have any issues with it coming undone. So we'll press this on here very, very good and solid. I think, if you can pardon the dog upstairs, guessing the mailman is here. Yup. The one thing that I would like to see from the Decoder Buddies in the future in a later version is the ability to just drop these in on these older, you know, where these clips are for these older boards, the Athearn boards and Atlas and whatnot. Otherwise, I mean, these are a tremendous product, and I love using them greatly. So, okay, press this in. That's solid. That ain't going anywhere. Okay. Next, I'm going to start by just soldering on the track leads. I'm going to trim these wires up. These are, I got too much exposed here. I don't like to leave that much. So I'll get my little clippers here and just shorten those up a skosh. That'll work. I was wondering if I needed to add one to this, but I think that'll be fine. So, just spin this around. Be easier to, my soldering iron's plugged in over on this side, so it's just easier for me to put my other hand onto these wires like so. Okay. Very simple. Left to left, right to right on both ends of this pad. Not very difficult. Let that cool. There's one. One thing to keep in mind, you see, it's hard to tell, but there's this little track that this wire fits in. I just want to make sure that I can still use that, because that will help clear it from the frame, and it's tucked in here, so obviously I'll be able to tape that down with some Kapton tape later. Not a problem. And we'll get this other track lead put on. Okay. Okay. So now, if I had LEDs, this board has the ability to have power to it. And again, don't cross these. Left to left, left to left, right to right, right to right. Just front and back pickups. Easy peasy. Next, we're going to do the motor leads. And then we'll throw a decoder on this and test it out to see that we have the direction of travel right. And if not, we will undo the motor leads and swap them. Very simple process. So now that that's done, we're just going to test our direction out here. I have a Locopilot version 5, which I like normally for all of the functions and whatnot. Things with number lights and ground lights and alternating ditch lights. It gives you the ability to program all of those very easily with a Loc programmer. And I'm very picky about how I like mine set up. So let's go ahead and throw this on the programming track and see what we're working with. Okay, so I've got the Loc programmer opened up, and I'm just going to open. No sense in sharing my screen with this. We're going to just read this. It'll be address 3 since I haven't programmed this decoder. It's brand new. And if I open the driver's cab, forward should move this to the left. And it's going to the right. So this is backwards. Okay, back on the workbench. Going to gently pull this Locopilot off so I can have more room to work. And I'm realizing in hindsight I should have put this end over the clip since you have to press down. I should have put it over here so these pins are above this old clip since you have to press down on that, but whatever. Once I'm done with this, it should be in and just stay in until I go to put sound in it or whatever. Not a big deal. I could always, I suppose, just move it. It's just tape, but whatever. Not gonna bother with that. Let's go to work. So now if we throw this decoder back in here gently and throw this back on the programming track, that should be forward and that should be backwards. Let's try it. Okay, as we were, forward should go to the left, and it does, or it's trying to. Reverse should shove it to the right. Yes. Great. I'm gonna call that good enough. Alright, since my Amazon package arrived, I ordered a bunch of just cheap LEDs off Amazon. They were, I already forgot the brand. Micro Lits. And I bought 50 of them for 17 bucks. So I was going to try them out, see how they worked. They come with resistors for different, there's 3 different voltage ranges in here. But I figured since the Decoder Buddy has resistors built in for LEDs, we're going to try them. So we've got 2 of these, or is there more? No, 2 of these packages full of LEDs. There's a copper wire and a silver wire. I twisted them together here. I guess they're insulated. I tested it once already just to make sure that it worked, and it did. And now I already forgot how I did it. I think silver to the pad and the copper to the common, I think. We're gonna try it. I've tinned these already, so then it should just be a matter of popping these bad boys on there. One. One thing I will say is I can tell, like, whatever they coated this in is rounded a little bit. So I might try to file that down a skosh to get a nice flat surface to adhere this to. I'm using the existing plastic, acrylic, whatever, as a fiber through the light. I'm just leaving the original one in there, so I will glue this to that. Okay. Now that's done, we'll test this out on the programmer. Okay, so I've already got the local programmer fired up, programmed into the address, and I did the rear lights, so there we go. We have a light. So now we'll do the front light, and then we'll get them installed and get everything programmed appropriately. One down, pull another one out of this handy dandy little package here. That looks like one. And at the top, it's hard to tell. I don't know if this will focus well, but the top sticks up a little bit, so I'm just going to clip that. Okay. So next, we're going to install this right down there. And of course, I'm in the shadow. I'll flip this around. Maybe you can see a little bit better. So, I just also purchased from Amazon Bob Smith Industries MaxiCure and Insta Set, which came as a set. That was not meant to be funny, but it was. So, the CA adhesive, cyanoacrylate adhesive, goes on like super glue, and then after joining parts with the CA, you spray this and it'll cure within 8 to 10 seconds. You can also use little micro applicators, I believe, to apply that. So we might give that a try. Use my tweezers to help me press this into place. I'm going to shape these a little better first. I want a harder angle coming from underneath there. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then in there like that, we will dab just a drop is all we need. Right on. I prefer to do it on the LED. Doesn't take a ton. Okay. And then press into place. And the hard part with these tweezers is it acts as a lever. so it moves a lot. And we'll spray some of the Insta-Set and hope. I'll be darned. That was probably a bit much, but that's in there. Great. Just clean out this excess here with these Q-tips. Very cool. Excellent product. I'm pleased. Just the slightest little drop is all we need. That's solid. Excellent. So now the trick is to connect this back to there. All right. Next, all we have to do is connect the lights to the motor. Blue to the plus. All right. That's that. So now what I like to do is add, you can add a little piece of Kapton tape to your wires to the shell so they don't accidentally get pulled off of the headlight housing. Anywho, another thing I like to do is wind the shell a little bit. So these crazy long wires, so maybe this was overkill. See, they kind of then stick together, so when you throw that shell back on, everything tucks up into place a little more organized than if they were all just hanging out loosely in there. Once I get this tested, I'll come in with some Kapton tape and sort of help stick them down that way. I need to get these motor or the track pickup wires and motor leads tucked away anyway. I just want to fit this on here for now to make sure they work and look good. Or maybe I'll do it now because they're starting to grind my gears a little bit. This right here. Twist them together. This poor shell is going through it with this project. Good thing it's not a Genesis. If I don't mess it up, little piece of Kapton tape, bada bing, bada boom. Just wind this around here, help keep everything together. but no pressure if I need to redo anything. It's just a piece of tape. These loose wires are, there we go. One to fall next to the weight and the shell. Okay. All right, back to the programming track. Okay, so I've done nothing. Still the default decoder. There we go. You just saw the number lights on the rear light up. That looks really good. Test the front. Well, heck, you can see it through the frame there. That looks really good. Cool. And see, it rolls. It's not fighting itself. As I mentioned, only one of those, I think it's the front truck, is actually being driven right now. So it probably won't pull very good, but it's good for something. So now I will go through the process of reinstalling the coupler pockets and putting in my programming as I prefer. And this locomotive now has DCC. So that's about all there is to it. As I'm sure this is an hour-long video. But yeah, thanks for watching. If you have questions, leave comments, and we will catch you next time. Bye for now.